Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org. Wednesday mornings start off right from 6 to 8 a.m. with Tina Gorman and Wake Up Wednesday.
Community Radio
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
.808 here on this 6th day of August in the year 2019, Anno Domini.
boy, this camera's rigged.
Oh, you cracked first.
I'm not.
You didn't realize I was playing Dead Air
No,
with you
I
that
didn't.
early.
I didn't. I'm sorry. I forgot the rules of the game.
This is the Den Ken's Den.
The views expressed by the host during his monologue are those solely of his own, not those of Westfield State University, Channel 15, the University Radio Club, our underwriters, or JPEG Luca, who's almost driving down the road because he heard Dead Air. And now...
You know, before I get started, I thought Bob would crack before you did.
I'm sorry. I forgot the rules.
You know what, Pete?
What's going on, Kent?
It's been almost a month.
Yes.
Countless weeks not going over Big Brother with Bob.
Oh,
man.
I'm so heartbroken.
I have felt empty,
Oh, gosh.
alone.
Oh, worse.
No, not because you were away.
Oh, thanks.
Because I missed Bob.
What?
Yes.
I love you. I love you, Ken.
Sure, we had email, but it just isn't
We
the
did.
same.
Yeah.
Perhaps I would have missed you too, Pete, if you actually took interest in Big Brother.
Well, there's your answer.
You watched
It's that simple.
You watched WWE. I stopped doing that when I was like 12. I grew up, and when you grow up, you start watching things like Big Brother.
Which is about the same entertainment value.
But I digress. Just as soon as you get back and we can work on a few projects, you're going to be AWOL for another period of time for more baseball.
I won't be AWOL. I'll be right here.
You do know that we're getting ready to ramp things up to third gear, right?
Sure.
In a few weeks, we'll be doing yet another live remote for the food festival.
Mm-hmm.
And then before you know it, I devote an entire month of programming to election interviews. In fact, after today, I won't be having any city councilors on until October.
Why is that?
We're in an election cycle,
There's
Bob.
an election, Bob.
Oh, so you can't have... Oh,
There's an election in town. Did you hear about it?
oh, yeah.
I have 5 Tuesdays available in October for interviews this year. And with the number of candidates, I'm pretty sure we're going to have to ask Tina Gorman to offer up a few of her mornings for this as well. My issue is that there are so many candidates. It's going to take a long time to get through things, but we'll do it.
Well, that's if they take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Not all of them
And
always do.
Not all of them always do, but I'll be here for it. Stay tuned. So I get a call from Pete on Saturday night.
From Florida?
Bob, they make telephones that work that far.
It was a half-hour call. At a time, seemed like hours because there was baseball talk. I just don't do baseball. Since the strike 25 years ago, I lost interest. But then the talk went away from baseball. And get ready for this, Kathy.
Oh, boy.
Oh, here go the eyes.
But then the talk went away from baseball and into HDMI over IP transceivers and wireless SDI transmissions to TCP to bandwidth capabilities over single-mode fiber to determining sources of artifacting when switching between 1080i and 720p to witnessing the failure of a tab bond on a CMOS imager within a device's charged coupled device, or CCD.
Are you making this up?
Pete, am I making this up?
No, not really.
No.
Okay. Oh,
I think she was talking about the terms, but I'm dead on with
no.
that.
No, we talked
Did
about
you
all that
talk
stuff.
like
Yep.
that, the two of you?
Yes, we do.
Oh,
They
One-
did. And
one
it
of
was
those-
even online. I saw it. He had a passage online about this, and I'm going, what?
One of those conversations led to a camera being sent back to JVC because it was damaged
Yeah.
right out of the box.
oh.
Yeah, that would have been a failure of a tab bond on a CMOS imager within the device's charged coupled device.
Right.
Yeah.
Or just a charged couple device at all.
Oh,
What he said.
yeah.
But
right.
you know what? Then it happened.
What happened?
Then it happened. I heard a train horn so loud, so distinct, that I knew producer Pete was staying next to an active railway.
He was standing on the track.
Just as I did when I stayed at the Easy 8 Motel in San Diego. The only difference was that he had a flat panel TV and I had a cathode ray tube television that helped drown out the noise.
Did you have a 20-foot concrete wall in between? I had
Kind
that.
of.
Okay.
Yep. I could hear the glasses in the kitchen cabinets shaking as this locomotive went past Pete's temporary abode.
That's true.
Good. Welcome back, buddy. There were a few incidents while you were gone, but I will wait until 10:01 to tell you about them.
Oh, no.
And the CIA promises to have your video camera back to you in a few months.
Oh, thanks.
Let's pay our bills. We'll be back right after this.
When I die and I lay me to rest, gonna go to the place that's the best. When I lay me down to die, going up to the spirit in the sky. Going up to the spirit in the sky. That's where I'm gonna go when I die. When I die and they lay me to rest, I'm gonna go to the place that's the best. Prepare yourself, you know it's a must. Gonna have a friend in Jesus. So you know that when you die, He's gonna recommend you to the spirit in the sky. Won't recommend you to the spirit in the sky. That's where you're gonna go when you die. When you die and you lay you to rest, you're gonna go to the place that's the best. Never been a sinner, I never sinned. I got a friend in Jesus. So you know that when I die, He's gonna set me up with the spirit in the sky. Oh, set me up with the spirit in the sky. That's where I'm gonna go when I die. When I die and they lay me to rest, I'm gonna go to the place that's the best. Go to the place that's the best.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield. Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Wednesday mornings start off right from 6 to 8 a.m. with Tina Gorman and Wake Up Wednesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
8:19, and I can't tell you if it's 8:19 and a quarter or 8:19 and a half because we haven't swapped the clocks back and forth yet.
Oh, no.
Eventually, I'm going to get my clock back from the studio.
Is
It's
that
not
like
my
getting
clock.
your mojo back?
It's Pete's clock, but it's the one with the second. See, it's 8:20 now. You know,
Doesn't
half a minute ago, I could have said 8:19 and a half.
Yeah. It doesn't have the fast seconds. Is that what you're saying?
The seconds, yeah, and I like to have the seconds.
You got to have the seconds.
So we got to, Pete. We got to do something to get these. Swapped.
I could be over here just going 1, 2, 3.
But we don't know if you're tied into the atomic or nuclear clock at the
that's right.
correct time. I mean,
I have a chip in me.
you have a chip somewhere, Bob. Oh, that was good, huh?
Whoa!
Kitten of the Keys, Chairman Meow, Peter Coles, is behind the... he's not behind the board. He actually has a board there, but he's more so in the booth. And I am not getting anything out of my sound program right now.
You played something and it was working before, so. Meow.
So this is Ken's Den. I'm Ken Stomsky.
I love
behind
that.
the microphone each and every Tuesday morning. In front of the Radio Millennium Board in the past, when we were at the studio, would have been Kitten of the Keys, Chairman Meow, Peter Coles.
There you
There you
go.
No. Did I step on it?
No, you didn't step on it. But you know what's funny?
Poor kitty cat.
Is generally Moo comes right after...
See, Kenny's
right after-
discombobulated too.
No, look at that. Moo is right over here, and Meow is way down here. It's not alphabetized.
You need to alphabetized.
Yeah, now
That's
you know
the
what?
problem.
Now it's alphabetized, so I can say side chick extraordinaire,
There you go.
Kathy Palmer.
Okay,
All
I
right.
can start my day now.
So, all right, my program was a little bass-ackwards, but I straightened it out. I got the two important sound effects up. Now what we're gonna? It's been a couple of weeks since I've been here. We have to start everything proper.
Oh, my God.
All right, and we're probably gonna want to cut
Be
to.
careful.
Wait a minute, we
Bob.
have a drop for Bob Plass, you know.
We're probably gonna want to cut to.
Yeah.
Here's
Oh,
Bob
no,
Plass's
he
proper
didn't.
drop.
Oh my.
That's Bob Plass's drop.
all right, so we're probably gonna want to cut to camera one. I brought a
Oh,
few things from home
oh my
just to
God.
make myself
Holy
more comfortable.
Mother
So
help us.
I've got my Make America Great Again hat. I've got the Trump mug, and I've got the Barry Soetoro toilet paper.
What?
So, now I feel at home.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God. Oh,
I feel better.
I'm breaking out in a rash,
Bob,
folks.
we-
I am breaking out
We're
in a
not
rash.
going to bite. We're just
Wait,
not
yeah,
going to
no,
bite
no,
on
no,
this.
no, no,
We're
no,
going to
no,
let
no,
this
no.
go.
Oh, gosh.
Bob,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he has no idea. He just sees I took something out from under the table. He has no idea what it is.
Peter,
I'm
don't go away
speechless.
again.
It's speechless. I'm speechless.
Don't you love this Barry Soetoro custom?
It's what is that? Barry Soetoro.
Barry
That is
Soetoro. That's
He loves to say that was his name, but it really wasn't.
Barry
Barack.
Who
No.
was Barry Soetoro?
He went by Barry when he was younger, and who
Yeah.
hasn't gone by nicknames?
But he
when
went
you're
by
young?
that name, so therefore his name
mother-
is Barry Soetoro.
His mother remarried, and her married name is Soetoro, and he used
And
his
she was a
mother's
stripper.
married name.
jeez.
So
Oh my God.
I've had kids.
You can
in
find
school
the
that
pictures
did
on the
that.
interweb.
It doesn't matter. Well, look. The man is brilliant. A brilliant, wonderful man. I know it. I know it. He's one of my favorite people. And Michelle Obama is one of the most loved people in the entire world. Michelle Obama is one of the most loved people in the entire world. Right ahead of Melania.
Because media tells you that.
Yeah, but I love her.
Yeah.
I love her.
Yep.
I love him, as a matter of fact.
So I did this yesterday.
I don't love that other guy.
I did this to get a rouse out of you.
Oh, I love it.
Which, by the way, I brought to the studio in my
Plastic.
They claim non-reusable plastic bag. Well, this is the fourth time I have used this plastic bag already.
Watch out, there's a hole in the bottom of that thing. I can see it on camera.
Oh, my God, over on the side there, Ken. You don't want to drop that cup.
No.
Oh, no, God help you.
That would be.
So,
Shattered cup.
inside of my quote-unquote non-reusable, non-recyclable plastic bag, I have in here an offering of peace to Bob Plath.
You do?
For dealing with that little skit I just did.
Oh.
And this, my friend, is a Provincetown reusable bag you can use whenever you go to Big Y.
What? Are you kidding me? Oh, I'm going to give you a big hug. I'm going to rub your colon in a minute. Look at this. Provincetown 400. It's their 400th anniversary. Is that what it is? Coming up in 220.
Uh-huh.
Celebrating the 400th anniversary of the Pilgrim's first landing and the signing of the Mayflower Compact.
Kenny, did you
Beautiful.
volunteer to do that parade too?
Yeah, are you looking on the other side? It
Did
says,
you volunteer
"Welcome
to do that parade?
No, I think I'm pulled into Southwick, and that's about it
Yes,
right
exactly.
now.
I love this. I am so happy. I'm carrying this to the Big Y this afternoon.
Yeah, don't leave it behind in the studio like you usually do your other bag.
Oh my God! Yeah. The other bag from the Massachusetts Democratic C-SPAN convention.
So something
40
that's
years.
been going on 3 times a week.
I love it, Kenny. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Bob. I love playing around with you.
I love you.
All right, so something that was going on 3 times a week whilst we were away for 3
Oh
weeks.
my God! Yeah.
Let's cut over to our graphic. Take a look at that, Bob. You know what time it is?
It's Big Brother time. Oh my God! You know, I wish they'd update this song a bit. Did they update it a little bit?
They have updated it. They've updated it like 4 times.
Have they?
This is a version, I believe it's from season 8. And I like it because it's nice and quick and to the point.
Right.
The newer versions, they have some areas of silence in between when they change.
I hear it. I got to look for that.
Yeah. Yeah, Big Brother was happening while we were not in here.
Kath, we've been away. We have 9 programs to talk about. So, but we can cut right to the chase to say the program. Obviously, it's about all these people who are placed in a house.
See, Pete Cole's left the control room.
Yeah, I'm going
He's not
with
even
you,
in
Pete.
there.
Yeah. Hey, these people are what? They start off with 16 people in a house, and every week they get rid of them, and we're down to about 9 or 8 people. I think it's 8 people now. Could it be 8?
10.
Oh, 10? Okay.
No. I'm sorry. It took 5, so 10, 11, 12 people. Because I'll get to it later on, but the next person going out is going to be the first to the jury house. So that's why I'm on top of that.
I see.
But the thing is with Big Brother. First off, right now, the first 3 people evicted were people of color.
Yes.
All right. Now this is the second year that there's been possible racial issues on this show.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the case really. I think one was just dumb luck that he got picked first.
Right.
And the other 2 were just horrible social game players.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Astro and Diva 2.0.
I agree totally.
Diva even said, I'm not going to make friends with any of these people. I'm not going to talk with any of these people.
No, that was
And
really
that got
funny.
her evicted.
Yeah. When you put people together in a house, they take sides. And I think that there's a lot of diversity in this house.
I think so.
In a way. There's a gay guy, and there's a Latina woman, a wonderful, I like her a lot, actually.
J-Lo.
Yeah, J-Lo, she's great, and she's the head of household this week, Kathy. J-Lo,
Which I'm going to be getting to.
Yeah, yeah. But I that was a big controversy, and the producers really said, look, you put people together, and indeed it's an experiment, and they all certainly look like they're getting along. Now, you watch it more than I do because you've got that 24-hour access to it. Have you seen any racial slurs being said during that time or anything?
I have seen Geico treat or talk to people of color a little differently.
Wow.
He had an attitude. I saw that.
Yeah, yeah.
But he's Florida. He's Southern. I mean, that just might be in his blood. It shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But
do people talk back?
You have to remember there are people on this show that are not from the Northeast, where we've almost gotten rid of all this.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
the
it still exists in other places.
square jaw doesn't treat women right very kindly.
That's because he's a mama's boy. I think that's what I call him.
Yeah, mama's boy. Yeah. And there's this guy on the show who talks down to women basically, and he's really handsome, and all the women. Not all of them are fawning over him. Then some of them got his number, but
they're.
I want him gone so badly.
Well, I'm getting up to this.
Oh right,
I'm getting up to this, but
don't you understand that women like bad boys?
Well, do you think that's the
Yeah, there's more to this guy being a bad boy. He's a D. I mean, he's just a general all around horrible person. But
women love that.
But before I get into what's happening now,
yeah.
Because, a few weeks has gone by. I'm a little embarrassed to say this.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, this is a first, Bob. This is a first.
All right, yes.
All right. The two people that I thought were going to go far,
yeah,
okay, the Libservative and Double Clutch are gone.
Yeah.
Now my only hope is Jiffy Lube. And he's done a lot of fighting, and he's in a pretty good place right now. I also think Jazz Hands might have a chance at Final 3.
Oh, I don't. You know what? I think he'll be down there, but he'll be. This is Tommy, the Broadway dancer.
Yeah,
he's dancing into the hearts of a lot of folks. He's adorable and he's smart and kind of almost a floater, but not really. A floater is somebody who doesn't really make big moves or something. I really believe that Kat.
Kat, I didn't see it at the beginning, but Kat could float her way towards the end of the show. The thing is with Big Brother, with the exception
of Cliff, the older guy, old man,
and he wouldn't be floating. He's playing a good game actually. Oh, yeah. He's been watching us in season 8, but the only single time ever in Big Brother history, and I'm talking about 21 seasons now, or the past 20 seasons,
right.
And in several seasons of Celebrity, only once did a floater win, and that was Celebrity Big Brother.
Who won?
I don't remember, but I remember
Ross the intern. No, it wasn't.
No,
Ross the intern. I think
that was one that he came in second.
No, he came in second. I think it was the second year. Who won last year? She was a floater. And
it was Tamar Braxton.
Yeah, she was a floater.
Yeah.
She ended up winning, and that's the only time that I know of that a floater's worked here. So miss all that. Kat can make it there. Jazz Hands can make it there. Now you're looking at 2 out of 3 people in the final 3 who got there by floating. So this season might be completely different than in the past.
Yeah. It's a very good season, and I think it's important to watch people living together and learning how to live together. I wish that they didn't cut it and make it. I know they have to do this, but they make the storyline and they pick out the villains and they tell people what to say and all of that sort of stuff. But the basic premise of the show of living together and figuring out and learning who each other is, they're doing pretty well about liking one another. As far as I could see,
right,
and growing together and understanding one another.
If I win tickets to the season finale, I'll bring you with me.
Oh God!
Will James let you go with me?
I think he might. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
So now
yeah.
current time.
I'm so excited. Maybe do we know the date? Oh my God, am I in
It'd be
Scotland?
it'd be September.
Oh my God, is it what? I'm leaving on September 10th. Is it before or after? Oh, please God, make it be the first week.
You're leaving on the. You're gonna be back for Pumpkin Fest.
Yeah, I'm not going. I'm only going for 2 weeks.
All right.
Oh my God!
Oh, September and October. Never mind.
Yeah.
My mind was somewhere else.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm thinking of events happening in both September and October for myself.
That's exactly.
But,
I'm gonna have stuff for you.
You'll be the first one to get the offer.
Oh, you are so
All right.
sweet.
Currently, Pete's shoving his finger down his throat over in the control booth there.
I think it's time for us.
That's another reason why I like to be right here instead of sitting along the side of the table there. I get to see all my guests, and I
You
get
can
to
see me falling asleep.
I
in
love
here.
this. You know why? Because it's like being on a boat. Don't you feel like we're on a canoe or something? And George Washington.
What's it with friggin' canoes with you?
I don't know.
A canoe.
I'm canoe. Well, we're like in a canoe only like we're in a boat. I feel like it's a lifeboat. Maybe it's a Titanic lifeboat.
You know, this boat is sinking right now,
Yeah.
Bob.
George Washington is up there at the prow, and you and I are back down here.
So currently in the Big Brother house, J-Lo is the head of household,
Yeah.
and she put up Geico and Mama's Boy.
Yeah.
All right. Now here's something that you might not be keeping
Square
track.
jaw and Aquaman, if you really want another way of looking at it.
Jackson
and Jack.
and Mickey.
Jackson and Mickey. Jackson's real name is Mickey's real name is Jackson.
Yeah. So here's something you might not be paying attention to or keeping track of.
Yeah.
Lindsay's chaos power is expired.
Oh, did expire?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Oh, so she has no power whatsoever.
Yeah, the chaos power is gone, which means one of those two are definitely going home.
No, you know what's going to happen? They've got an audience choice thing. On Sunday night, the audience of America is going to pick 3 people to go to battle it out, okay? And one of them is going to be free of eviction.
But
The other
that's
one
on
is gonna be
Sunday.
up for
That's on
eviction.
Sunday, and this eviction I'm talking about is in 3 days.
It's on.
It's on 2 days from now, actually.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Oh,
and the
fabulous.
veto competition and the veto contest has already taken place.
Oh my God.
All right.
Oh.
So one of those two are definitely going home, and I can tell you because I've been watching Big Brother After Dark, and I've been watching the feeds.
Yeah.
I know who ended up winning that veto competition, and I can guarantee you, one of these 2 nominees are definitely walking out the door on Thursday night.
I can't wait. Please, God, make it that square-jawed Jackson. I can't stand it.
I'd love to see either of them go, but I think
Anybody
I think it's gonna go
anybody
that
that
way.
treats women the way he treats women
and
that
you know what,
deserves to go.
the-
Get out of here.
and the way I've been witnessing things as I'm watching the feeds,
Yeah.
I think he pretty much knows his time is up.
Good.
You can tell by how he's been
He
working
can
the
go
house.
home and his mother to his mom.
He won't be going home to his mom. He'll be going to the jury house. He's gonna be the
that's
first
even
member of the
worse.
jury.
Oh God. Okay. All right.
All right, look at this.
Kathleen.
8:37.
I got to go.
I went 7 minutes over my break just to fit all that in.
Hey, I got to go. I'm going to take my bag. I'm going to bring my orange Provincetown bag to the Big Y. I'm going to fill it up today with all kinds of treats. I'm going to be cooking shrimp scampi this week, and I want to get my shrimp and some other fish and
Good
et
stuff.
cetera, et cetera.
Is that going to be jumbo shrimp?
I use
And would that be an oxymoron?
yeah.
Jumbo shrimp. Good point.
Is that anything like a big band orchestra, which is going to be August 15th?
Don't start that again.
Yeah, big band orchestra. That can't. That's redundant, isn't it, Kath?
Big band
Yeah.
orchestra?
Hey,
Thank you.
get out there and volunteer, everybody. Thank you so much.
And,
Go to
and,
WestfieldOnWeekends.com.
and you can go home and watch Regis and Kathy Lee whilst when we get back, I might be surprising Kathy with the latest and the greatest Ken's 10 version 5.0.
It's ready.
because it's August.
Oh, I can't wait.
You're going to miss out on that,
All
Robert.
right. Look it. I'll see you next week. Bye.
ashamed how we break each other's hearts and cause each other pain. How we take each other's love without thinking anymore, forgetting to give back. Isn't it a pity? Some things take so long, but how do I explain? Not too many people can see we're all the same, and because of all their tears, their eyes can't hope to see the beauty that surrounds them. Now isn't it a pity? Isn't it a pity? Isn't it a shame how we break each other's hearts, cause each other pain? How we take each other's love without thinking anymore, forgetting to give back. Isn't it a pity?
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at Rockies.com.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Wednesday mornings start off right from 6 to 8 a.m. with Tina Gorman and Wake Up Wednesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Oh, look, it's one of those early Maude episodes with a really long opening credit sequence.
You're going to love this, Kathy.
Madam Curie was a strong woman character, working all day in a science lab, yeah. Clara Barton was a famous nurse who was rapping with the soldiers and bandages too. Susan B. Anthony, always out doing stuff, marching around and holding up signs.
And then there's Maude.
Pocahontas
What the hell?
had all going on, an Indian guide with lots of Indian pride. Indira Gandhi ran a whole big country. That isn't easy, even if you're a guy.
And then there's Maude.
Babe Zaharias was a
come
really
on.
good athlete, good at track and field and professional golf too.
And then there's Maude.
Amelia Earhart flew a lot of airplanes, except for that one time when she didn't come back. Cleopatra lived
And
way
then there's
out in
Maude.
the
Come on.
desert, but still found
What
a
the?
way to keep herself looking fine. And then there's Maude.
There we go. That was an ordeal.
That's a good one.
Amen to that.
I figured you'd appreciate that one.
You had a long hiatus from this, didn't you?
I had time to go trolling around a bit.
I heard that one, though, before we left, so you hadn't heard that one because you were away, and then we were away, and then now we're back.
You know another one you haven't heard yet?
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
Another break, please.
No. Seeing that we're in Shark Week?
Yes.
Yeah.
I muted him.
No, you need to bring this one up.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, stop. Where's Dan when I need him?
Why? The humanity.
It's Shark Week. $20.
Stop.
You had to get a fart joke in, didn't you?
Yeah.
Wait for it. Wait for it. It's Shark Week.
Where do you go from there?
Nowhere. Just nowhere.
Down. Going down.
Is that a shark in the water that I see back here?
Could be.
Somewhere.
No, it's a dolphin.
Where I need to point down lower, right around here. Is there?
Yes, it's coming.
a
Pointing
dolphin,
at the
huh?
sky.
Well, my monitor isn't in the right place for one thing. We went over this with Morganelli the other week too, trying to. We put a weather map up on the wall, and I tried to work it, and because I wasn't looking directly to the side, I was all over the place. I couldn't do it at all.
That always looks hard when they do that because I know what they're trying to do. I know there's nothing there, and they're trying to think, golly, that's got to take a lot of practice. But I'm sure they know.
8:48.
I'm sorry. I can't deal with this. It needs to be a half. I can't deal with this kind of reality.
Nobody will know the difference.
You know, we could just say it. Nobody would know.
We could make it up.
We could.
Because our clock could say that.
There you go. We'll just make it up. You can say a half anytime you want to.
Over the past couple weeks, did you have to make up a few more stories or?
I
something?
did. I did.
What went on with that?
We had a great time, and as a matter of fact, we did the second session. This is for the
Tell everyone what you did
this
first.
is the Park and Recreations. And you know, Westfield really is very lucky, Ken, because they do have a lot of programs for kids, and they try to get varied programs. Like they go from the sports to cartooning. There's a man who runs cartooning. He does a great job. I run the theater program. I know Dan Tenero runs programs. So there's all kinds of different things.
Any relation to Henry Tenero? Do you know?
I do not know. I know that
You know who I'm talking about, though.
No.
No. He was principal, vice principal in schools for.
No, Ed Tenero.
Oh, it was Ed Tenero.
Yes,
Ed
he
Tenero.
is. That's
Okay.
his son.
Okay.
It's his son.
All right.
I had Mr. Tenero as a teacher 1,000 years ago.
What happened?
What happened?
I had noise in my head, my monitor, and now I don't. I just technically want to know what happened.
I muted my mic.
Okay, I got you.
You know,
all right.
I can't really hear. I can hear you because you're talking, but I can't really hear from this headphone. It's very soft.
All right, you need to rotate one of the three knobs to the right upwards.
And do we know which one it would be?
Well, you're going to turn it, and you'll know. You can see how high up mine is, so if you don't notice anything that quick, okay, go to the next one. Just leave that one adjusted there. Now, did I get okay?
That's it.
All right, all you have to do is say something,
now
sister.
I know. Now I have technical experience on this show.
All right.
Anyway, so we did do some of the 350th History Show, and it looks as if the one that we did in May, which was extremely successful during the birthday week when we did the show down there called Time in Westfield, they're going to do that again this year as the show up at Westfield High School with the kids. That's the plan. I don't know whether it will actually come to fruition, but right now that is the plan. So if people didn't get to see it the first time, they can see it up at Westfield High School, which, by the way, is totally handicap accessible. And I think they also run a special preview show, or they used to, for the seniors during the day. So that'll be great.
All right.
It's coming up.
All right, great news from Parks and Recs for your annual July disappearance from Ken's Den.
I know. Well, this working for a living, and getting up every day, Ken. Every day.
Don't you do that for the cows anyways?
Well, no, but the cows don't come in until like 10 or 10:30. And yesterday I didn't go out until late, and my dog was so mad at me because all the cows had already gone in. And he went.
Did they just direct themselves?
They do. It's hard to know, and I really, some days I'll go out at 12 and they'll still be out there under the trees, and then other days I'll go out at 10:30, and for some reason they decided to go into the barnyard by themselves. I have no clue. Not being a cow, I don't know, and I don't speak cow. So I can't tell you, but the poor dog went barreling out into the yard, barreling through, ran into the pasture, and just stood stock still looking at me like, Mom, you're such a loser. You're such a loser. They're not here.
So it is August.
It is August already. We're going
And
down towards school.
in the month of August is when Ken's 10 is usually updated. And we first started off in August, and it just seemed like every year it wasn't even version 1.0 the first time. It was just Ken's 10, and then it was version 2.0, then the 3.0, and 4.0, and right now we're up to 5.0. So you, Kathy Palmer, my totally awesome side chick, sitteth at the right hand of the Kenneth right now.
Oh, God.
The Kenneth.
I want you to be the first person to play Ken's 10.
I don't know if I'm up
That's
to
your
this
cue, Pete.
responsibility. And you didn't even give me a hint when you were doing this.
No, you did. You were the inspiration for one of them.
Okay.
Because I had writer's block towards the end, but then I started coming up with it, and then I reordered them.
Okay.
All right. But you have not heard this yet. Pete has not heard this yet. This is the first time 5.0 will be heard.
Do you know they do something like this on one of the late night shows?
They must have stole it from me because
They
I've been
do.
doing it for over 5 years
I
now.
know, and I think I'm not sure, but I think it might have been Jimmy Fallon. He has a list, and he just says you have to make up your mind really quick, and he reads
Actually,
the list.
it was started in the Actors Studio, but by the French talk show host Pivot.
I don't watch that, so they must have stole it from me.
They
was
did.
20 years
I
ago.
thought you were listed in the credits. They actually said the Kenneth.
The Kenneth.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, we're ready.
Let's play the 10.
Kenston version 5.0 was side chick Kathy Palmer. Number 10. We go backwards. We count down to 1. Crushed or cubed?
Crushed. It's an odd one.
After 4 of these, it's hard to come up with
I'll bet.
something. Wait until you hear some of these others. Number 9, beer or wine?
Wine.
I thought so.
Although I do like beer.
Number 8, resort or cruise?
Resort.
That's a good one.
Isn't it, Pete?
It is.
Yeah.
It's a great one.
And this doesn't have any bearing on IQ. It's just preference, okay? Chess or checkers?
Checkers.
Number 6, Ken's 10 5.0. Blade or electric?
Ooh, electric.
When, if, whenever needed.
Depends.
Whatever, yeah. That can go for both genders. I thought
sure.
about that one. All right. Number 5, rain or snow?
Ugh. Snow. These are hard.
Is that which one do you like more or which one do you hate more?
Hard. Yeah.
You can take that either way.
Yeah.
Well, it's your preference. All these are your preference.
Gotcha.
So it's the one you like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you like the snow better than the rain?
Well, yeah.
Ugh.
It's prettier.
Number 4, pen or pencil?
Pen. Depending, though. If I'm writing in a script, I use a pencil. I'm too ambivalent.
You already said pen.
I know. I'm ambivalent.
Number 3, desktop or laptop?
Laptop.
Number 2, spaghetti or fettuccine?
Oh, spaghetti. That was an easy one.
And number 1, Ken's 10 5.0 with Kathy Palmer. Swing or seesaw?
Swing.
Swing. All right, there you
Those
go.
are
That's the
hard.
5.0.
Those are really hard. Those are good
You know,
ones.
they're hard because you never heard them before.
Yeah, good point. But they're hard decisions to make. I mean, the swing, they're really so different. Yeah, those are good ones. How long did that take you?
Several hours.
Should I leave that queued up?
No.
We're not going to do it for the guests?
No, because they're going to be on again multiple times during the year. I'm not going to burn this list out on the first day out.
Okay.
But good question. Thank you for asking me about that.
You're welcome.
Mr.
Trying to
Coles.
plan ahead.
Yeah.
That's good. So how long does this take you? Really, seriously?
I was on that probably 3 hours because I'd come up with an idea, and then I'd have to go back to the first 4.
Okay, to see if they were there.
And that happened to me.
Did it? Which one did you repeat?
There were many of them.
Huh.
Because they were just so good. But, all right, that seemed to work, so that's what we're going to use.
It was hard.
We're going to put that to work definitely during the food festival coming up in a few weeks.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah. Are you going to avoid us again?
I
Because
did
one of
not
the
avoid
years you did.
No, I can't. I've been down there almost
Every
haven't
year?
I? Yeah, I think I've been there.
There was something else you did show up
yeah,
for.
Yeah, let me think about that. Last year, I remember sitting there because Peter had that awesome brownie, and I had.
Oh, it was the air show you didn't show up for.
No,
this last
I was
time,
there
too.
for the air
You showed
show.
up for that one? Damn. I can't think of what it was.
Yeah, I have pictures of the air show. Remember, we brought my daughter went with me, and we sat down and we talked about all the different.
No,
She wasn't
no.
at Westover.
No,
Oh, the
you weren't at the
Westover
Westover one last
No,
year.
You're right.
That's what
you're
it.
right.
That's what
I
it was.
did not get to Chicopee. No, you're
Yeah.
right. Absolutely right.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
8:59 in the morning. Coming up on the other side of the break, I have counselors Matt Emershai and Andrew Surprise. They're going to be talking about a trip they took to Washington. We'll be back right after this.
What's the frequency count at the shopping subtrain? I was pregnant, locked out, no, not up to speed. I thought
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com.
Wednesday mornings start off right from 6 to 8 a.m. with Tina Gorman and Wake Up Wednesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
9:05 here on the 6th day of August in the year 2019, Anno Domini. This is the Den, Ken's Den. And look at this, Kathy. We went from outside our backyard next to the ocean.
Yeah, where are we?
And we are now in our high-tech studio, Studio 120 here at the Tech Academy. And we put up something official looking because now we get a little official. You know, we're going to joke around, obviously, because it's Ken's Den. But we're going to talk about a few things going on in town. And these two gentlemen here, Matt Emershai and Andrew Surprise, along with, was it Dan Alley?
Yep.
That you went down to Washington? Okay, so you went down to Washington for a water issue, but before we talk about what you learned down there and what drove you there, and even about the Westfield water, I heard one thing. I don't know if it's a rumor or not. You guys almost got your ass kicked for being AWOL at some government building. What's going on with that?
Caused, Matt.
What's that?
Let's see what you caused.
Okay, so
Why did I?
Okay, so
I wanted to start off light.
Andrew
Blame it on
twisted his ankle, so he was walking around with a crutch, and so we said at that point we had to have a good excuse or story for what happened to him. Well, while we were at the White House complex, we walked out a door at the Eisenhower building, which is the executive office building, where much of the staff to the president actually conducts their business. So we were trying to get out at the end of the evening, and no one was around. Conference was over. They had their cocktail party over there afterwards, so we were getting ready to leave. And we're finding our way out. There's no exit signs or anything, and we're like, oh, there's a door that should lead out. So the door opens up and looks straight ahead, and there's the White House. There's no fence. There's no nothing. So it's like, well, we're going to turn around. That's not the way we're going. So
you start to see guys talking into their rifts with their suits.
Exactly.
Hey, it wasn't just us. There was other local officials from other cities and towns that were wandering around too.
So the joke was, whenever anyone was like, "Oh, what happened to Andrew?" or "What'd you do?" I was like, we went out a door. We had the White House there. Andrew got tackled by a Secret Service agent. Wrecked his ankle. Security.
Andrew, that's your story, and you're sticking to it.
No, it was actually a Westfield pothole that got me. But
Oh.
no, I was hiking on Mount Greylock and I rolled it pretty badly. But yeah, when we were down there on the way out of the Eisenhower building, when we actually got to a door we could exit, and there was a bunch of officials with us from other cities and towns, and one girl was trying to get out the door, and there's a badge swipe, and there's a fence that comes up. And so she's trying to swipe her badge, and it won't come out. Finally, she looks over at the booth, and the Secret Service guy just comes out all ticked off with his machine gun and his bulletproof vest on, grabs the card from her, swipes it, and just throws it into the container that they leave there. It was pretty funny.
Well, yeah, because at any of these entrances and exits, they have they got to be 6x10 cubes for the Secret Service to guard all of the access points. And so there was, at that one, because it's an exit, you have primary and secondary exit gate to allow people to advance through to slow anyone trying to come in. And there's obviously Secret Service in that booth, and she turned around and threw her arms up looking at it, and he popped out with his M4, slung over his chest with his hand on the grip. And she's like, oh. She wasn't expecting that. And they don't mess around. I mean,
And then when we got out, I called an Uber, and Matt and Dan have never taken an Uber before.
What?
I hadn't.
And so we're waiting. It's busy. It's rush hour traffic in Washington, D.C. And so we had to wait like 15 minutes. And Matt, like the whole time, is like, we could have walked to the hotel by now. It's like it's 100 degrees out and we're in suits. I'm not walking to the hotel. And there's like no cabs to hail.
And did you pay rush pricing too?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're the one who had the app.
Yeah, it was a little more expensive, but I was fine with it.
Standard Uber X, not the XL.
But yeah, Washington, D.C. traffic, it's not as bad as Boston traffic. And I was the one driving. So it's actually not that bad. So you'd be surprised. Boston, I think it's probably because it was the streets are bigger, wider.
Right.
There's more lanes. But yeah, traffic gets through pretty well.
I tell you what, when I go away, I Uber all the time. I don't even use a cab anymore. Forget about that. Sometimes you do have to wait a little bit long. 15 minutes to wait for an Uber in Washington. Geez, I don't know. In Vegas, we wait about 2 minutes, and our Uber shows up. In Dallas, I think I waited 5 minutes. 15 does seem a little excessive, but I don't think it's horrible.
Yeah.
You can hail a taxi cab immediately, but you're also paying 4 times more for that cab drive.
Well, I can tell you that it was the second day we were there. That was the last day. We only went down for 2 days. The first day we were there, after we met with Congressman Neal's chief of staff, we had some time, so we went to the Smithsonian, but we went right there from Capitol Hill. So we're all in our suits, and it's literally 100 degrees out. We're sweating to death.
Now, did your Uber driver drive like hell, too?
No, she wasn't bad.
Okay.
She was Dan asked her. He's like, because we were trying to figure out when we would leave, and he's like, well, what's the best time to get out of here? When's rush hour traffic ends? She's like, it never ends. She's like 9 p.m.
Yeah, I've gotten into a couple of Ubers where the driver's just horrible. I'm not a bad driver, but just an aggressive driver. And I've taken rides with friends. And they start to get freaked out when these drivers, start to get aggressive.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there calm, just texting on my phone, and they're like, "Kenny, doesn't this bother you?" I'm like, "Have you ever driven in Boston? I mean, if you can deal with that
Exactly.
and not break down, then
any
you
cab
can
in New York City. Any cab in New York City is an experience too.
Yeah, that's a frightening experience.
Yeah,
the cabs are over there.
They're all 2-footing it with the gas and the brake and
Speed to the next stoplight.
New York City is awful for that.
So you went down to Washington for what?
To rewalk Reagan's footsteps.
What did you really go down there for?
So Matt found we had an email that was sent out by the White House to all local officials in the Northeast. They do this regionally, and to invite us to it's called Northeast Leadership Day Conference. And essentially what they do is they try to connect you with department not heads, but contacts in the departments, so that if you need information from the federal government, you know who to call. And actually we've been in touch with some of them since then, but it's essentially to actually facilitate, smoother relations between federal government and local government. And
See, I had thought that you'd just gone down there with the water issue. Obviously, you dealt with it.
No, so
no?
Matt brought up the idea because he saw the email. He's like, well, why don't we go down there? It wouldn't hurt, especially when we're dealing with the water issue, to try to find some contacts in the federal government. So, while we were down there, I said, well, if we're down there, we should go and talk to our congressman.
Right.
And so I made appointments with Congressman Neal's chief of staff and with Congressman McGovern.
Excellent. Which I want to get into that on the other side of the next break. So this wasn't just a PFAS or a water meeting. It was to get you in touch with larger government,
Right.
basically.
So they had it designed where, for instance, they had community revitalization, which was the assistant to the president, domestic policy, National Drug Control Office, Veterans Affairs, HUD, Economic Council, cabinet member, Department of Labor cabinet member. But the big one that we wanted to speak with was Jennifer McLean, which is a big name for the EPA. She's the acting director of the Office of Groundwater and Drinking Water.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one that we wanted to get in front of her, have a chance to speak with her. And one of the important things with going there was, aside from having, now we have the cell phone number of the second in line assistant to the president, but also we have a full list of direct contacts now for down there with various issues and different things that we can work through these people. And I know at this point we've put Andrew pretty much as the liaison, so we don't have the three of us emailing or calling back and forth with these people. He's kind of the point person, but there's been almost daily communication, whether it be by phone, email, with these people. So it proved to be a very valuable trip. I think in the long run here, it's going to pay off.
All right.
Pay huge dividends.
So you did say valuable and you did say pay off. I need to ask, who pays for this?
Well, we had a counselor who took it upon himself to start texting us and asking if we shared a room and everything else, and thought it was funny that we would save some money and share a room. So at that point I said, well, hey, legal department, out-of-state travel. So all these departments have their in-state travel, their out-of-state travel. City council doesn't have that. So we picked up the tab ourselves.
All right. And by splitting Ubers and hotel rooms, it made it somewhat reasonable for each of you to go down there.
Absolutely.
That would never fly if you were to go travel with either myself or Pete. It's just miserable trying to get through the middle of the night with one of us in the same room.
Well, let me say Counselor Alley likes to snore.
Oh, okay. Notice he's not here to defend himself. I'm sure if I had Mr. Alley on here, he'd be saying, yeah, and Emershai was farting all night. I know.
Well,
Come on.
It was funny because at one point...
He's gone there again.
I had to put the TV on because that was making him stop. But he said in the morning, he's like, oh, was I snoring last night?
Okay.
His sinuses hurt. And it was bad. Andrew's like, throw something at him. Because he's on an air mattress. Like, just throw something at him. I'm like, I don't have anything to throw at him.
If I said that never happened to me in a hotel room, I'd be lying. I've had things thrown at me. 9:17 in the morning. On the next side of the break, or the other side of the break, rather, we're going to be talking about Washington again, but more so with the water issues and the PFAS over in Westfield. We'll be back right after this.
She keeps a Moet Chandon in a pretty cabinet. Let them eat cake, she says, just like Marie Antoinette. Building a remedy for Khrushchev and Kennedy. At any time, an invitation you can't decline. Caviar and cigarettes, well versed in etiquette, extraordinarily nice. She's a killer queen, gunpowder gelatine, dynamite with a laser beam, guaranteed to blow your mind. Recommended at the price, insatiable and appetite. Wanna try? To avoid complications, she never kept the same address. In conversation, she spoke just like a baroness. Middleman from China went down to gauge your mind. Then again, incidentally, you're that way. Perfume came naturally from Paris. The She couldn't care less, fastidious and precise. She's a killer queen, gunpowder gelatine, dynamite with a laser beam, guaranteed to blow your mind. Drop of a hat, she's as willing as playful as a pussycat. Momentarily out of action, temporarily out of class. You're absolutely dry. She's out to get you. She's a killer queen, gunpowder gelatine, dynamite with a laser beam, guaranteed to blow your mind. Recommended at the price, insatiable and appetite. Wanna try?
Underwriting is brought to you by Boise Cascade Distribution, providing products and services needed for building material dealers, home improvement centers, and industrial customers. They offer everything from engineered wood and plywood to Drex decking and railing, James Hardy siding, and Advantech subfloor. Located at 33 Fowler Street Extension in Westfield and on the web at bc.com, they are committed to providing quality products, great service, convenience, and value. One of our underwriters here at WSKB's Community Radio is Carson Center for Health and Human Services, a nonprofit organization located at 20 Broad Street in Westfield. They provided behavioral health and rehabilitation services in communities throughout Western Massachusetts since 1963. There are services for children, adolescents, adults, families, and couples. You can find them on the web at carsoncenter.org or at 413-572-4132.
It's Tuesday morning from 6 till 8. Wow, it's Tuesday with Bob Plass.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
8:21. Now it's 8:22. See how, Kathy? See that? I was about to say a perfect 8:21, and then immediately it flips over, and it just, that discombobulates me. That pisses me off. If I keep bitching about it, something will be done about it.
We'll fix it.
All right, I'm gonna be the squeaky bearing here.
All right, you do that.
All right. So whilst you were down in Washington, you mentioned you made an appointment with Richie Neal.
Yep.
All right. What became of that?
So his chief of staff was his chief of staff. He actually was coming into town, but he wasn't going to be there until later in the day. And like Councilor Mish said, we got right into Washington, and our schedule was very tight. So we had to check in the hotel. So we said, we have time to a couple of hours. I'd like to meet with you. And so he sat down with us, and we went over all of the issues regarding the PFAS contamination of our wells. We talked about, the effectiveness of GAC, and if we were to tap into another water source, where the funding would come from. And we asked him to ask the congressman to get involved to try to speed up the CERCLA process, which is the process the federal government has to go through to do a study to determine a pathway of contamination from the airbase into the aquifer. And those do take a bit of time, and but they've been dragging their feet. I think the last report we actually received in Westfield was in March of 2018. So we would like to try to get that on track, because that means if they do take responsibility, they would provide funding for either an alternative water source or hopefully paying for the filters that we believe won't work.
Right.
So,
So
can you have both?
You can have both, and I personally am fine with leaving the filters on wells 1 and 2 because those are the furthest away from the air base and the lowest contaminated as a backup. But honestly, and I think Councilor Emershaw agrees with me 100%, and I think Councilor Morganelli and Alley do as well, that we really should be using the Ty Carmody Reservoir in Southampton that Holyoke owns as the primary water source for the north side.
What would it take to tie in to the Ty Carmody?
So,
I mean, you know, you got to put a pipe somewhere.
There's already two 20-inch mains that run from the Ty Carmody past North Road, where Home Depot distribution is, just to the south of the airport terminal, where Sox is. Cuts under the runway, just to the north of the turnpike, and hooks around near where our water tank is, and rides the range there over towards Ashley and McLean reservoirs in Holyoke. Holyoke has discontinued use of those lines. If you think back a year ago, we were told that we needed to filter that water, that we would not receive a waiver. Councilor Surprise and I have been going out with Raft to meet with EEA, Mass DEP, the governors, some of the governor's cabinet members, and trying to get some answers here. And it turned out that DEP issues source waivers. So, for instance, the Quabbin, I believe they said there's 13 communities that draw water from the Quabbin.
Mm-hmm.
They don't issue 13 waivers to each community for not filtering their water. They issue it to the source, and they said the Ty Carmody has a source waiver, so Westfield would not be bound to filter that. Now, going off of a year's memory here, that was like $12 or $13 million. It was more than a well water filtration plant to filter that surface water.
Mm-hmm.
So it was something like $23 million is what DPW had estimates drawn up with tie-in bond. So $23 million, you back out the 13. They also said talked about lining the entire length of the pipes, which was, I believe, $3 to $4 million, which Councilor Surprise had gone through and found some reports back from when the power plant was looking to come in, where they actually they sectioned the 20-inch pipes and determined that they were essentially in like new condition. We have emails from the Holyoke Waterworks director, Dave Conti, that confirms that. So we would have maybe $6 to $7 million we have to replace some pipe around where Home Depot distribution is. Holyoke already has the easements secured because the pipes ran right where the building is now for Home Depot. So we would have to put in about 3,000 feet of pipe around there at a couple $1 million cost. And then we would have to chlorinate and UV disinfect the surface water, because you do have to.
Basically what you're doing with a lot of the south side water from the reservoir.
Yeah.
Well, the reservoir is different because that doesn't have the filter waiver. So we'd have to filter that just like...
right, but we're still chlorinating. And are we UVing that?
They are.
That as well? Okay.
Yeah. So you would have to chlorinate, you'd have to UV the water, but really basic treatment, essentially, with that. It would be raw water from Holyoke at that point, 2 million gallons a day, based off what Dave Conti emailed. You're talking...
2 million gallons a day is basically a well.
Right? Yeah, it is. That's a high capacity.
That's
high capacity.
That's the average north side consumption. So obviously summer ramps way up, but that would work out to $365,000 a year at $1,000 a day, million gallons, $500. Just changing the carbon alone on these two buildings, 8 filters total, is $640,000, $80,000 a filter. Now that's with a bench scale test. They love touting their bench scale test. But if you look at what the chemical levels were in their bench scale test versus when wells 7 and 8 were running, half to 2/3 of those chemicals, the amount is missing. So the actual contaminant level when they were running was much higher than when they went to do their test, because they only pulled 500,000 gallons before they actually took that test. And that becomes important when we had the conversation with Mass DEP when well 2 was right at the cusp and we were putting that temporary filter on, and well 1 was climbing in numbers. I believe at one point that had gone up to like 57 parts per trillion total. And I flat out said to DEP, I said, what happens if well 1 hits your limit and you say shut it off? The response I got was hope and pray that we've had enough rain and well 2 has had enough time to rest that it drops the levels down. Because essentially, when you think about it, you have all this, they're relatively shallow wells. Our aquifer is 40 to 200 feet in depth. You're not talking a deep well here. So when you're heavily reliant on rain and surface water to infiltrate there, so when you have a wellhead that's 120, 140 feet deep, doesn't take too long in this sandy soil for all that surface water, the rain, to work its way down into that well. So if the well is essentially resting, you have plenty of that rain, it can push away, disperse a lot of that chemical. And that's kind of the situation we're in there. And then that
sand filter.
Yeah, so that equates over to 7 and 8 when those wells sat offline for over a year, and then they come back and they pump 500,000 gallons when normally you're pumping millions of gallons a day. It's really not a
indicative of what the actual contamination would be coming out of the ground.
Gotcha.
It's not reflective of what was truly there. And as those levels rise, what's important to note is when those levels start rising, it's not a direct correlation to your change-out schedule, because they get as there's more chemicals, it blows through the filters that much faster, and your change-up interval for the carbon speeds up that much more. So like if we're missing half the chemicals, if you double the amount of chemical, it doesn't change our change-out interval from 11 months to 5.5 months. It very well may be 3 or 4 months at that point. And then the part we can't ignore is, Newburgh, New York, for one, was touted as one of the state-of-the-art facilities that ours was being designed after. Counselors went down there, water department went down there. $50 million. It's offline. They're not using it. Hoosick Falls, New York, they're digging a 13-mile water main to connect to a neighboring community. You have Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is adding more filters in line. You have the Decatur, East Lawrence,
West Morgan, East Lawrence, Alabama.
But you have the filters on the Cape. You have Pease, New Hampshire. You have Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And Portsmouth has gone to the extent that Westfield touted, where our system's expandable, where you can go from running the filters in parallel, 2 filters per wellhead,
to series.
So you're running one well through 4 chambers, which doubles your cost and cuts your output by half, because you can only run one well.
And then you're talking about maybe new filter media because it's been shown in numerous studies. And actually, Councilor Figge finally emailed me asking the other day about the studies. And, I haven't emailed him back because I was away, but I'm going to get back to him. A lot of the studies that show the carbon doesn't work, at least for all of the PFAS, they've all been on our council share drive for more than a year. So I don't know why no one else on the council has looked at them yet. But
so then also in Portsmouth, they added the resin filters, and that was kind of if we need to, we can expand the building, more money. We can add these resin filters, more money, in an attempt to stop this stuff getting through. But the other thing there is, and Raft and UMass has documented, there's far more PFAS in the water than what they are testing for. You have dozens of additional compounds. So while they're looking at their focused, what they would call legal water, what Mass DEP requires them to test for, you still have all these other chemicals in there, and we need to be mindful that once you start pumping that water, those filters, assuming they're effective at PFAS, as they say, it's not going to discriminate between the ones we test for and the ones we don't. So it's going to be attempting to catch all of them, which is going to bind them up faster.
And other chemicals
get through.
And other chemicals. So there's been TCE in the aquifer, jet fuel's been in the aquifer. Those things cost. It's the same concept. Not just PFAS, but those things clog up the carbon quicker and cause it to be used up quicker, which increases the amount of time where you have to actually change it out, which increases costs significantly. I mean, he brought up West Morgan, East Lawrence, Alabama. I talked to their water director. He did a 20-year cost study on their carbon filters, and they're moving reverse osmosis, because the first thing he said to me is, like, don't install them. They don't filter out all the PFAS. And he said that they did a 20-year cost study. It was like $94 million over 20 years to maintain them. I was like, we can't even afford a quarter of that.
Reverse osmosis on a municipal level is insane.
No, and if we have the option of tapping into an alternate water source, why not do that?
Right.
But
all right, and that was one of that's been actually a conversation that the EPA has been having along with Mass DEP, because the Mass DEP will be passing a MCL, maximum contaminant level, before the EPA, it looks like. And at that point, part of their guidelines with cleanup and everything else would be the preferable option is an alternative water source, because otherwise we're just taking this stuff that's sitting there in the ground and we're moving some of it into the river, which is then going to the Connecticut River, heading down through Connecticut. So we're spreading this contamination around where we could leave it where it is.
Yeah, and speaking of, and I don't know how much time you have, but speaking of which, I just got an email from Kristen Mello yesterday, but she had sent me this article which had emails. It's from a discovery in a lawsuit down in Pennsylvania from Rear Admiral Brett Muhlenberg, that's his name, commander of Naval Facilities Engineering Command. And so essentially in the email, he just says, it's going back and forth regarding treatment for PFAS. He said these points that we know about, the contaminants are found globally in the environment. Existing contaminant treatment techniques like filtering with granulated activated carbon have limited effectiveness. Several research efforts are underway to try to find a different treatment, but all the military is starting to pay for alternative water sources. So if we do get through the CERCLA process, there's a potential that they would refund us for any cost that we incur trying to tap into an alternate water source.
And on the other side of the break, we'll talk about that process. We'll talk about the fact that there are lawsuits involved with this. We'll also talk about the PFAS assessment meeting that we had not that long after you got back from Washington. Pete, I'm sorry I went over. I'd like to do a quick break and then get back to things right after this.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Comcast and Xfinity.com, offering Xfinity TV, Internet, home phone, and home security services. Information on all that Xfinity has to offer in the Westfield area is available online at xfinity.com. Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
It's Tuesday morning from 6 till 8. Wow, it's Tuesday with Bob Plass.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
9:39. We are back. About 2 weeks ago. Am I right about? Yeah, about 2 weeks ago, we had the ATR. Help me out with that one.
ATSDR.
Yeah, here in town to have a community meeting regarding a PFAS assessment. Now, I was there. I actually videotaped it for Channel 15 because our usual guy at Channel 15 was out of town.
Thank you.
And I got what this whole thing was. Now there are some pissed off people here in town, and there were a few folks who thought that this would be the ideal place to get some aggressions out. But these people that were doing the presentation had nothing to do with all this. They're here to determine what is going on with the PFAS.
Essentially, they're here to determine how much PFAS is in people's bodies and how much has been retained. And it's only, the study's only going to be on the north side of the river for current residents that have lived here before January 2016. So,
although I lived up there for many years.
And I lived up there for some time too. But they're not trying to determine the health effects. We actually have UMass Amherst Raft, which is Westfield residents advocating for themselves, and Green Cape, which is another environmental group on Hyannis, have put together a proposal for ATSDR, which is part of CDC, and they're trying to get a community health study. At that point, thousands of people can volunteer for that. So we should know by the end of August if we'll get the grant to do that.
And you know what? If that comes through, I'm doing it.
I'm going to do it too.
Yeah.
So, I think the big thing with that meeting, and some people, and when I say some people, I mean city officials, fail to recognize is, you're right, people were mad, people are angry, they want answers.
Right.
And the city, by and large, whether it's hiding behind the lawsuits as a reason not to talk about it, the lawsuits are one thing. Talking about details and procedure and stuff like that, that's one thing.
And there are lawsuits put together.
Correct. But
yeah,
you still are providing water to half the city. You owe them some answers. And whether that means putting the city solicitor there to watch that gray line, that you don't cross it with the residents, but ultimately we need to do a better job of informing the public, giving them an avenue to have a discussion about this, to get information about what's happened, what's happening, and why.
But how do you do that with a city-sanctioned meeting, if you would, or a town hall where there are two different mindsets and thoughts, and dare I say, two different sciences involved here?
Well, I mean, that's
a loaded question.
I could say that's never stopped the mayor before, because you look at the press conference the day before that meeting, the TSDR meeting, he held a press conference to say, we're doing everything we can, everything's great, blah, 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 blah.
The filters will work.
And the filters will work. And one of the most interesting and important takeaways for every resident from that press conference should be, they sat there through the whole
presentation,
$13 million bond presentation, non-detect, non-detect, non-detect. They told these people on the north side, we are going to give you PFAS-free water. Now, the mayor said at the press conference, and we've known this all along, he said, we are going to give you below limit water, aka legal water. So we're going to give you legal water because they have no way of providing non-detect water. It was a way to push that bond and to get it through. It's impossible. Industry standards do not support the claims that they made. Their own bench scale test expert, Chris Higgins, does not support their claims.
Oh, well, let's be clear.
So can you go after the manufacturer of these filters?
We are suing,
there's no warranty.
We are suing the man. Well, yeah, there's no warranty. They did say that, but we are suing the manufacturers of the PFAS chemicals. I can't discuss it. I don't have a lot of hope that that's going to turn out in our favor. But what we can do is we can get an alternative water source that has PFAS, no PFAS, that's never tested positive for PFAS. And, we've confirmed with the water director in Holyoke and some of their counselors, they'll sell us the water at about half of the cost of what it's going to cost to change the carbon on those filters every year. And that's just the current filters. That's not an expanded system, which is likely what they're going to have to do because the state is going to implement an MCL. Right now, it's an advisory level from the EPA, and we're not legally obligated to turn those wells off. It's just an advisory of 70 parts per trillion, and the state has added an additional PFAS. The EPA is 4 PFAS. The state has said, well, you have to do 5. The state now is talking about doing a maximum contaminant level of 20 parts per trillion and adding a 6th PFAS. And, this is going to snowball. It's going to keep going lower and lower and lower, and they're going to keep adding additional PFAS as we can test for them, and we know that they cause health effects. So it doesn't make sense to keep trying to filter the water. It's just going to keep costing us more and more money. It's not being protective of people's health.
Pete, I'm looking at 9:45. Do I owe you a quarter of, or am I good to go all the way up?
Just go to the end.
Thank you.
I have one question, though. Do any of these studies about the water take into account the exposure that everybody had from water bottles and everything, any other plastics that had PFAS in them all these years?
Yeah, that's what's going to be determined by. That's what they're doing right now with the blood testing. They're going to have the average. We're the first community of 8 in the United States, and it's primarily based around military bases. It's in coordination with DoD. To determine what the difference in levels is when your drinking water is contaminated as opposed to the general population, because PFAS are found in like Teflon pans.
Yeah, it was
popcorn
widespread
bags,
for the past
pizza
30
boxes.
years.
Yeah, so they're going to be able to show, and I've read studies that it is higher when you have drinking water, and we'll see that. I think people will see that in the PFAS levels, and the community will get a generalized report. We're not going to know individual cases, but we'll get a generalized report of how high the average PFAS level is for Westfield residents on the north side as opposed to the general population. And
they're doing a general survey of the general population for that as well?
Yeah, they're not doing a general survey. They're basing it on previous testing that has happened in the country.
Okay.
So they have what you would consider a control group.
And they did. Ken was there with that, where they outlined that. I believe they said 99% of the population has some level of PFAS in their blood.
Right.
And so they have these baselines from throughout the country where they've tested various people in areas. So they have their baselines of essentially what to expect from just everyday average exposure of the Teflon pans and pizza boxes, stuff like that.
Every water bottle for the past, until about 2 or 3 years ago, was made out of it. That was a primary ingredient in the plastic.
So they have that baseline of nationwide of the areas outside of military bases, of industrial plants. I mean, you have, I believe, the one down in Decatur, the East Morgan, West Lawrence, was contaminated by Saint Gobain, which they make siding, windows, tons of building products. And so they have documentation on whether it's industrial or military and just general population. So they have some pretty good baselines to judge their figures off of.
All right. So that basically covers that meeting with the PFAS. The video is actually on the Channel 15 YouTube
thank you for
page.
recording
So if it ever needs to be referenced to, it'll be hanging out there for a while. You know, I hear from you, okay, we need to tie on to another water source. And then I hear, okay, well, you know, the filters are doing their jobs. That's what we put our money into. How do you go about funding the tie-in to comedy, or even go ahead with that process, seeing that we already have the filtration systems in?
So we want to see 7 and 8 shut down permanently. The levels there are between like 1,500 and 1,800 parts per trillion when they're in full use. If you look at, you know, what other communities are doing in the funding aspects, I've gotten some really good information from the federal government. I'm not willing to share that just yet because things I've shared before have been shut down by the city solicitor because she doesn't want me looking into things. So I'm not going to share that publicly right now.
Fair enough.
Sufficient to say that there are ways to fund it that are significantly cheaper than what we're doing with the bonding.
All right. So basically, I know we're putting the systems into 7 and 8 right now, which supposedly will be ready soon. We would just have to eat that if we tie on to another source, right?
Or the
potentially
lawsuits.
the lawsuits, the circular process, there are some aspects of what we're doing now where potentially we could take out loans that would actually be a cheaper rate than what we're paying on the bond, and we could pay the bond back with that.
So the other interesting thing was you mentioned that the filters are working, and they love touting how well 2 with the temporary filter is working non-detect. Now the levels at well 2 are 1/10 of what they are at 7 and 8. So you have far less chemicals there to begin with. Now the other thing is that filter's been in place for 9 months. We had a whole go around over when that actually was turned on. They were saying back in August, and then it turned into November, December.
Yep.
But regardless, at this point, it's been 9 months that filter's been on. Now, if you think back, we said 2 million gallons per day. Days before the mayor's press conference, they said they had pulled 36 million gallons through that filter. It's 18 days worth of water. That's nothing. In the total volume, the filter beds that's capable of. Then at the press conference, they said it
70
was
million.
70 million. So
35 days worth of water.
Yeah, so you have 35 days worth of water.
Over 9 months.
That's just over a month's worth of water in 9 months. So I would hope that filter pulling a lower level, still technically legal amount of PFAS in the water out, you've drawn less than 1/10 of the amount of chemicals, and they've drawn 1/10 of what that filter's capable of, because it's designed for 11 months at the higher amount. So yeah, I would hope that they're not pulling any chemicals through at that point. And I mean, we have the water ban right now, which, I mean, you mentioned the water pressure at your house. Councilor Surprise mentioned how there's the Granville Reservoir supplied 70% of Westfield's water last year. They are pushing, and the director finally admitted in an email to me, where they are pushing almost 1 million gallons a day from the south side through the Granville Reservoir to the north side of the city.
But they have to pump it at maximum capacity in order to keep up the pressure to get it across the river because of the elevation differences.
So, and we have this water ban. Now, if you think about it, you have well 2 with the filter, 2 million gallons per day, DEP permitted. Well 1, which is back online after the chemical spill, 2 million gallons per day capability. That does have some PFAS in it, plus the 1 million gallons that they're pushing north. We don't have a shortage of water. We have a water ban, in my opinion, because they are pushing this 1 million gallons north, and they can't have the people on the south side consuming that water. Because if we're consuming it on the south side, they don't have the water to the north side. Your pressure drops. And then on the north side, if the people are consuming too much water, then they're going to have to either run well 2 at full output or turn on, even if they are running that at full output, then turn well 1 on with some PFAS.
Yeah, there is no drought going on here. This is making sure the water system in a whole is going to work.
But instead of leveling with the residents and just telling them that, there's a water ban, we need to conserve water and everything. As far as I'm concerned, just level with the people and tell them what's going on and why you're doing it. And people would be far more forgiving and accepting if you just explained what was going on.
Usually being right up front and honest and telling the truth from the start is usually how things go better.
Absolutely.
That's for sure.
All right. How from here do we decide or move ahead with hooking up to a cleaner source of water?
So right now,
I mean, some people are calling for it.
Yep. So right now we're going. RAFT has created a petition, a ballot petition, to put it on the ballot to require the city council to vote to tap into Ty Carmody as the primary water source. So I've been going around with that, and I can tell you everybody I've talked to has signed the petition. And I'm not giving them any other information than what we.
Now, wasn't a petition put out about a year ago for
that?
That
that
like
was to repeal the vote to initially to bond
for the bond
and
authorization.
He knows more about it than I was. I wasn't involved with that. I was busy with work at the time, but apparently there were only a few signatures short from actually being able to do that.
So you had 20 days to compile just over 3,000 signatures, which is a tall order, even if you know what you're doing.
Okay.
And individuals asked me for help. They wanted me to lead it, and I took a back seat and I said, listen, I'll tell you certain things that you need to do, but I said what I had to say on the council floor. I made the votes that I needed to make, and this can't be a Matt Emershai referendum here because I don't like the outcome to repeal it. Right. So by the time the residents got their act together, coordinated, they had 6 days left. They created the petition. They got it out there. They started
doing a petition drive,
hanging out at the grocery stores. They had people bringing them sheets that were going around to their neighbors and stuff, and they fell 117 short of the required number to repeal, which is a remarkable number
in 6 days.
In 6 days, especially for residents.
And I've got a minute left. So this new petition, it's to require connection to Ty Carmody
as the primary water source for the north side.
And is this something that will make it to the ballot this November here?
I think it'll be on the ballot this November.
Most likely.
But that's assuming the city doesn't try to block it some way.
Okay.
But the city could potentially do that if they don't want voters to vote.
How does that work?
Well, talk to our law department.
Find a technicality.
All right. I want to thank you, gentlemen, Matt Emershai and Andrew Surprise, for coming in here. I wanted to get into a few other things, but I think that the whole water thing
is the most important.
Is the most important thing that you wanted to get out. Next week, I have Chef John Slattery in the studio. 2 weeks from now, Superintendent Zaporowski will be in here. I usually have him in here a couple of weeks before the school year starts off, so we know what to expect. 3 weeks from now, it's going to be Making the List. Yes, we're going to bring that back. And then 4 weeks from now, you might want to tune into this one. Hope Tremblay and Fran Smith from the Westfield News will be here. There's going to be some changes coming up to the paper, and we're going to talk about that the beginning of the week, where the changes are going to be happening. And then in September, I want to let you all know that I will be trying to put together a mayoral candidate meet and greet on one of the mornings, and I will also on one of the mornings after we figure out availability. I'll have the new Chief of Police, Chief Larry Valier, in here. So after that, October is a bunch of interviews for city councilors, as I do every election cycle. So a pretty jam-packed third quarter coming up here on Ken's Den. I want to thank my listeners and viewers and my side chick, Kathy Palmer, for putting up with us today.
As always, a pleasure, and thank you, both of you, for coming in and
for having us
helping
on.
Westfield to understand what's going on. We appreciate it.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us.
All right, thanks again. Pete, take me away.
Bombadita, 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 happy trails to you. Bombadita, 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 bombadita. Who cares about the clouds when we're together? Just sing a song and think about sunny weather. Happy trails to you till we meet again.